Special thanks to our sponsors for sending us to Computex 2019.
What's going on, everyone? We are here at the Deepcool booth at Computex 2019 Nangang Exhibition Hall. As usual, we're going to start off with Deepcool, and they have, well, something really interesting to show you guys. It's actually a live demo explaining, I guess, graphically how some of their latest tech works. We're talking specifically about the anti-leak tech. We got a video talking about it. I'll throw the card up in a second, but they're going to show you exactly how it works and why it's necessary in AIO. So let's go check it out. This is actually a real-time pressure analysis of the AIOs in question here. So Kyle, if you want to zoom in and show them what's going on, I'm going to try to walk you through this so that you can better understand what the graphs are showing you. So there's a metal plate between each of these CPU blocks, right? So that middle plate there is basically a heat plate. And there's a temperature probe between that heat plate and each of the AIO blocks. So when you look at the graph in a second, you'll see a red line. That's your temperature. That's basically what, how hot those plates are making the CPU blocks. And then what they're doing is they're heating up the fluid inside each of these AIOs right now without the fans on. The pumps are running, so the fluid inside each is circulating, but the fans aren't dissipating that heat actively. Now, if you pan up to the graph, you guys can see, first off, we've got the temperature lines here in red on both sides. This sensor's been a little finicky, so I would take this one with a grain of salt, but this one's pretty accurate for the most part. You can see how that pressure, or the temperature is rising, starting to level off a little bit, but again, we don't have the fans running, so we expect this thing to keep getting hotter with time. These two lines correspond to this y-axis here, and this is pressure in kilopascals, and then time here on the x-axis, so how long these tests have been running. And then up top you see our key, a normal 240 AIO, they're actually using their own AIO here, without the anti-leak tech, without that pressure relief valve we talked about in one of our older videos. I'll throw that up in a card so you guys can reference it if you are not sure what we're talking about here. That's what you're seeing in the green line. That's an AIO, just a typical AIO with no pressure relief valve. The yellow line has the anti-leak tech. It has the pressure relief valve, basically a bladder that constricts, and it constricts as the pressure inside the AIO increases, and that happens normally when a fluid gets hot. Any gas bubbles you have in there will expand, and so that's why you're seeing this linear relationship with pressure and time, right? Pressure increases as the fluid gets hotter, and you can see that's what's happening here with the temperature line. The pressure relief valve is actually doing what it's supposed to do right now. You can see the yellow line is starting to level off. They have pressure probes inside each of these AIOs, so you're seeing real time what the pressure is like. Right here we're about 30 kilopascals, and then up here, the one with no anti-leak tech, is around 40 or so kilopascals, and we expect that to increase. You can see with the 360 AIOs, that delta is even higher, and it's a bigger system, right? And if we assume that the bladders in each are the same size, then that bladder is going to be more constricted by more expansion in the 360 mil AIO. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. Again, this is, don't expect these numbers to be real world because we don't have the fans on. They just want to show you what happens with AIOs in general when they heat up. Fans aren't going to, they're not going to get rid of all the heat immediately. That's why radiators are there, because water has really high heat capacity. It's going to take a while for that heat to dissipate, and the fans do definitely help that process. But I think this is really cool to see real time the disparities between the two, anti-leak tech, no anti-leak tech. And again, if you haven't watched the original video about how that stuff works, the technology behind it, the constriction of the bladder, then I invite you to watch that before you see this, because you really have to see that video, understand what's going on internally for this to make any sense. Okay, now what you're seeing are all AIOs with their fans on, and if you pan up to the graph here, Kyle, you can see pressure's dropping, and that is a response to the temperature falling. Again, this temperature sensor is doing something really weird. Ignore that one. You can see temperatures dropping in our 240 systems, and concurrently pressures are dropping. They're actually going to eventually meet, and that's, obviously when their room temperature are around there, they are the differences in pressure are going to shrink. Really cool, again, to see this real time, see that temperature falling, and right now we're at about 60, maybe a little under 60 degrees Celsius, and the temperature at its peak was about 65, maybe somewhere in there, 62 and a half. So yeah, really cool. I don't know what on earth this thing is doing. That's really fun. But there's a lot of stuff at play here. Like I'm impressed that Deepcool even bothered to set something like this up. Most of the time when you come to these events, you just see companies showing off products and telling you all these really cool, fancy things about their products, but you have to kind of take their word for it and wait until we test. At least in this closed system, from what I've seen so far, you can see that the anti-leak tech is actually doing its job, and that was something I really couldn't show you in my original video discussing the technology. So Deepcool's done us the honors, and you're seeing this stuff work in real time. Very, very cool. And you can see here the 240 and 360 Castle AIOs just kind of in their natural states, looking mighty fine. The difference is this is the exact same AIO we've built with in the past. You've seen it on the channel, but it does come now with the anti-leak tech. So it's going to become standard in all Deepcool AIOs moving forward, which is really nice. We have a V2 over here, and the V2s have the extra ring on the side, performance fans. We'll talk about all that when we actually do reviews in the future. And then we also have small changes to the Pro line. So we have the original Pro, which was the first AIO from Deepcool to implement the anti-leak tech. We also have they're calling it the, it's called the X now. I don't know, some of these naming. They have the EX, then we have the Pro, then we have the X, and that's what this one is. And think of it like Extreme. It's got better fans, sort of for higher CFM, and then also stainless steel for the little loop that was originally glass, and this was another failure point the Deepcool addressed, so that's why it's stainless steel now, so you don't expect glass to, glass will break easier than this stuff. So for durability, again with the anti-leak tech, this is going to be a really impressive AIO, and we have the 360 mils over there. So you guys have been awesome. This is our first official video. I'm not sure if I'm going to air this video first. I know AMD's got some really cool stuff that they just announced, and we're going to see a lot of it this week, so stay tuned for that. But always like stopping by Deepcool's booth. We appreciate them for sponsoring this video, giving you guys a chance to understand how the anti-leak tech works, and hopefully we'll see it in action again in future AIOs soon. You guys have been awesome. This is Computex 2019 coverage. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.